speaking with Rob Garf, VP of Industry Strategy and Insights at Salesforce Commerce Cloud, formerly known as Demandware. How are you, Rob?
I'm great. Thanks for having me here today, Darius.
Thank you for your time. So I want to start by asking, how is the integration of Demandware into Salesforce going? And then into what are the new things that Demandware is actually able to do with the customers or the Commerce Cloud now, having the umbrella and the power of Salesforce around it?
Sure, yeah, good question. Yeah, let me take those in pieces. When you think about Demandware coming on the scene in 2004, really disrupting the market, offering a fundamentally different model to manage your e-commerce platform in the cloud, we made great traction, obviously moved upstream, helping some of the largest retailers in the world. And in a parallel path, you had Salesforce in 1999, really pioneering cloud, bringing social mobile to enterprise. And they grew really out of, or I should, I guess say now we grew out of the Salesforce automation space to the broader CRM. And one piece of which was missing prior to the acquisition of Demandware was that commerce experience. So they provided a platform to help attract new customers through Marketing Cloud and certainly Service and Sell To, and provide communities various other clouds. But bringing together Commerce Cloud as part of the intelligent customer success platform really allows Salesforce now to provide a relevant, really these personalized one-to-one journeys across the entire shopping experience. So I'm personally excited to be part of the team, and certainly what we have to provide to the broader B2C and retail market.
Okay, so is Commerce Cloud being sold right now as a separate product or as a part of the Salesforce experience?
Sure, yeah, no, that's a logical question. It's a separate product, so Salesforce Commerce Cloud is still really at its core the digital commerce platform. Of course, we've moved aggressively into the store and now offer Salesforce Commerce Cloud Store, and layered underneath that is Commerce Einstein. So as with really this being the year of Einstein for Salesforce, we are infusing artificial intelligence into Commerce Cloud to help our customers provide a personalized, really, as I mentioned before, a one-to-one relationship with that customer.
So I heard about Einstein, and actually I wanted to learn more about it. Can you talk about Einstein at all? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So broadly speaking, with Salesforce, Einstein is bringing artificial intelligence to the enterprise. And rather than companies individually having to employ an army of data scientists, it's like having an army of data scientists baked right into the platform. And it's not just about coming up with good decisions, but it's also executing and efficiently executing on those intelligent decisions. So in the context of Commerce Cloud, we've actually had these capabilities for the better part of 3 years. Last year, we introduced product recommendations, which we now call Einstein product recommendations. We have about 250 sites live, and our customers are seeing anywhere from a 7 to 16% uplift just by virtue of a more personalized experience. Later this year,
7 to 16% more in conversion
in revenue. Yeah,
revenue?
It's pretty quite amazing the uplift people are seeing. And the other aspect to that is we are continually putting this innovation into the platform. And so this year we will introduce Commerce Insights, really a dashboard to make smarter decisions around merchandising, and predictive sort as well, to really be able to personalize the navigation, whether it's digitally or in the physical world through Commerce Cloud Store.
So this is all possible without somebody even using Salesforce?
Well, this is all possible without using other aspects of the Salesforce.
Other aspects of the Salesforce.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So we are part of, and it's a good line of question,
right.
We are part of, now that Salesforce obviously has a very broad portfolio of capabilities, so it's
right.
clear, it's important to be clear here, that we are part of the intelligent customer success platform that includes Marketing Cloud, Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, IoT Cloud, Community Cloud, and also the development platform.
Right.
But we are sold and maintained independently. You don't have to have those other components. And the Einstein capabilities are also specific to Commerce Cloud.
Commerce Cloud. Okay. So, I mean, it definitely if you are in retail, if you're doing anything, selling anything, you need to have a CRM aspect to your business.
That's right.
So I think the value here is that if you have this, you already have a tight integration between Salesforce.com or maybe Desk.com and Commerce Cloud.
Yeah, so it's interesting. When we were acquired, there were two things that were clear. The first one was, don't mess up your current business. You have many happy customers who are growing 2 times the industry average, and they expect innovation. And as a company, before the acquisition of Demandware, and certainly Salesforce, it's all about customer success, right? So it's continually innovating and bringing product to market to support the changing consumer needs. The second aspect, and Darius, where you're going with this is, there's a great opportunity here to provide accretive value by bringing together the various clouds to solve specific use cases. So many of our clients are doing that today, whether it's Suit Supply as an example, who are using various clouds within the intelligent customer success platform to provide a personal experience both in-store, but also online. And so we're going to harden that over time and look for where those cases are, where we can combine these clouds so that our clients can get accretive value from us.
Right. So traditionally, Salesforce, the CRM side, is really designed for B2B. So there has to be some modification on how to use that actually for B2C, but it's not a major change. It's still you're helping customers, you're helping consumers, but there's got to be a little bit of a change in actually addressing consumer side.
Well, yeah, so first of all, yeah, as you know, because you know the space really well, Darius, Salesforce is the #1 CRM platform, the fastest growing enterprise software company to reach $8 billion in revenue. And so certainly they cut their teeth. I should say we cut our teeth in the CRM space and continue to lead that market. For the retail space, that means really putting the customer at the center of everything that we do and our customers do, the retailers, right? And that also entails having a single version of the customer and a single view of who that customer is, whether they're shopping online, they're shopping via messaging platform, social platform, in store. And so there's a huge opportunity here for Salesforce to have that single view of the consumer, of the shopper, that would then, with Einstein layered on top of all of that data, whether it's data being generated within the platform or data generated outside the platform, to layer on top artificial intelligence to provide that personalized experience. So it's great opportunity here for our customers to succeed.
Right. So what are you finding as far as on the technological side of commerce? Things that are changing, like right now the API model of integration and actually providing what's called microservices.
Sure.
Is that something that Commerce Cloud is looking into?
Yeah, so I'll address that directly, but if I step back a little bit, there's a ton of disruption happening on the technical side of commerce, of retail in general, right? And so we're seeing it on mobile, where according to our shopping index, which looks at about 440 unique shoppers on the platform on a monthly basis, more than 50% of traffic is now in mobile, about 30% of orders are mobile. And some customers of ours over the holiday, 75% of the traffic and sales were on mobile. So there's a seismic shift to that. Mobility doesn't only transcend to consumers, but also the store associates. So really shifting from the checkout process to the check-in process and being able to influence the consumer when they're in the discovery and research versus the checkout process.
Right.
That's one aspect of technology. The other one that I'll mention, and I have already actually, is artificial intelligence. So being able to really get very predictive around what the consumer will react to and what their next best action should be. The last piece that I'll mention, and there are so many more, but I will say this is voice. I see voice as being one of the next user interfaces for shopping. It's so natural, it's so intuitive, and it's for everybody. And so being able to use that, whether it's Alexa or another IoT type of device, to be able to interact with in a more natural way.
Right, so voice makes it really interesting. providing CRM services, customer service via voice would be a dream.
Sure.
If I can just if I could say something to Siri and it, she or it actually would understand it really good and provide it, I think it's an amazing experience for the consumer. So
that's right. I mean, people even go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So how do you actually implement that within the customer service side? So like Alexa, for example, and I mean there are other platforms. They have ways for other companies to build skills.
That's right.
Would that be a way to actually? So I'm thinking like would Salesforce, for example, partner with? This is hypothetical completely, but would Salesforce go and create skills for Alexa?
Yeah, so I'm not going to speak directly to that,
right.
But I will. The concept is right on, and so let me give you two examples here, right? And so while I'm in the Commerce Cloud, I spend a lot of time with my colleagues, and if I think about the Service Cloud and what they're doing and creating more of conversational service, so if you step back, customers are in control, right? They have more access, they have more leverage, they have more influence than ever before, and so they want to interact with retailers and their brands in the context of their lives versus in the context of the retailers' lives. So it's whether it's in messaging platforms, social media, wherever the case might be, and our Service Cloud is actually embedding service right in those various messaging platforms. You can only imagine a world in the not too distant future where that can be done via voice. But what I also will say is General Motors, outside of the traditional retail space, is moving from just an automotive company to a total transportation experience company. And they are, and I would put this in the IoT and voice category, really making their cars a lot smarter and allowing consumers to interact with the car, whether that means, again, hypothetically, being able to find out via voice where the closest Dunkin' Donuts is, and then who knows, Dunkin' Donuts could offer up a promotion if in fact the consumer actually ends up going 0.1 miles out of the way to be able to get that big cup of coffee.
Yeah, the sky's the limit, really.
It really is.
As far as what you can do, the question is how much are consumers actually going to take without getting freaked out?
Sure, of course. Yeah, there is, of course, a balance there.
Yeah.
When I think about Salesforce, trust is our number one value. So, of course, that means trust in our reliability, our security, our scalability, but certainly there's an aspect of trust that consumers have with the retailers they deal with.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned mobile, AI, and voice as the three factors of disruption. What do you think about video? Live video?
Sure. Oh, well, live video, of course, but also if you see how consumers in general are consuming, I guess, whatever, are using or interacting with the social aspects of their lives. Many of it is in video. And so I can see that within retail really transcending and creating, for instance, shoppable videos. And so, again, anything retailers can do to break down the friction between inspiration and purchase is a good thing. And it goes back to that point, being able to be embedded in the daily lives of the consumers so that it doesn't become this discrete event for shopping, but rather it's just naturally done without extra steps to make it happen. And when we think about, you go back to the microservices comment, which I didn't forget about, that you asked about a little while ago. Certainly, as we look about developing our platform, we want to allow retailers to embed commerce wherever the consumers are. And that is done most efficiently through microservices.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot easier to actually bring in other services these days than it was even 5 years ago.
That's right.
So now, you mentioned on the concept of Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, when you think about AI, Watson comes on everybody's mind. It has a name recognition and it's been playing chess for a long time, and now it's getting into retail. What is the difference? What would be the differentiators between Einstein and Watson? And this is I love the naming.
Yeah, right, exactly. I defer to some public information that we provided on the topic to go in deep details. But what I can say is Einstein and Watson provide artificial intelligence capabilities, but in slightly or many different ways. There's no real overlap in the capabilities they provide. The way that part of the relationship is structured in that Einstein will consume information and data, like as an example, the Weather Channel information that IBM purchased a couple of years ago, to help really infuse that into Einstein to make it smarter. Einstein, as our, in the Commerce Cloud chief data scientist talks about, is thirsty for data.
Okay.
And anything we can consume, and much of that in the future will be from external data sources, whether it's generated from IoT, voice, or third-party systems, to make Einstein smarter, to then translate into more personalized one-to-one journeys is a good thing.
Right. Okay. So you think it could be actually complementary to each other, helping each other?
The relationship is designed to be extremely complementary. We feel like there's very little to no overlap in the portfolio between Einstein and Watson. And it's two great companies coming together and doing some good stuff on behalf of our customers.
Right. So are there going to be, again, as much as you can say, are there going to be any like examples of Einstein and Watson implemented with the same retailer anytime that we can probably foresee in the future?
What I will say is stay tuned on that.
Stay tuned. Okay, awesome. That's as good an answer I can.
You
push
had to
out of
try.
you, yes.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I know that you mentioned also this shopper index.
That's right. Yes.
What is this? Is this like a report that?
It is, yeah. So, thanks for asking about that. So, part of my team's charter is, well, if you step back, again, we're a cloud platform. Mm-hmm. So, all the data that's generated on our platform is available in aggregate in a secure manner to us to view, right? So, we can, on what we do on an ongoing basis, is aggregate and then analyze that data, and really becomes the de facto of digital shopping trends month over month, year over year. And of course we can slice and dice that by geography, by size, by type of retailer, and get some great insights. So my team on an ongoing basis, actually a quarterly basis, looks at the shopping index for that.
Okay, and then so what is, so is it done, like the latest one was released when?
Just a week or two ago, and it looked at the last quarter.
The last quarter of 2016?
That's right, and all year as well, but primarily last quarter of 2016.
Okay. So, anything of like standing out for you in that quarter?
Yeah, so I would say two things, and I wouldn't say this is new, but the surge of mobile. It's really become a mobile-first world that we live in, and what we found is the conversions are ticking up. We find that customers, retailers in general, are doing a better job of breaking down the friction, particularly in the checkout process. You can attribute a bit of that to Apple Pay. If you think about trying to type in your address, billing information, and credit card, it's just not fun, right? So being able to create a seamless transaction, a frictionless transaction, is one piece. The second piece is we look at source of traffic across all of our clients, and what we saw is a nice uptick in social as the driver. And so we do see social, going back to the point around distributed commerce, or where, having retailers be where the consumers are, as a big important shift in, again, it's not just about having retailers pull consumers to their property, but it's about having retailers also push their brand to wherever the consumers are. And we think that uptick in social activity is a manifestation or a proof point around that.
Okay. So one of the things that people were really excited about was like when Facebook allowed companies, retailers, to have their own page and actually purchase things on Facebook, but I don't think that it really caught on as much as people expected. Mm-hmm. It seems like people are still driving, the best insurance that you can have against competition as a retailer is to get as much direct contact with the shopper as possible.
Sure, yeah, that is kind of the conventional thinking, and retailers love that because it puts them in control of the shopping experience and their brand. But the reality is that's not what consumers are wholeheartedly demanding these days. And I think the best thing to do is look in other geographies. So you look at China as an example, and WeChat.
Right.
So WeChat, huge messaging platform. Many of the customers have direct linkages into bank accounts and banking information. And so many retailers, to really thrive in that area, are embedding their products in WeChat. So Lacoste is a good example, where they're not relying on a consumer to punch out of WeChat and go through the shopping experience that way, but rather ask questions of their social network, query them on what they like, what they don't like, and then be able to purchase right in app without leaving. So is it going to happen overnight? No, but are we seeing a shift to this distributed or off-property type of commerce that's happening? Yes, absolutely. And again, it's still such a small, of all of retail, such a small percentage, but growing.
Right. So that's the other, I guess, interesting thing that I see is that the overall size of retail is so massive, trillions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And then these new technologies are actually changing, but their pace of change is not only fast, it's actually seems like it's picking up.
Yes.
So it's still a small piece of the pie, but it is starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's right.
So, I guess one question for any retailer is that where do I invest in right now? If I'm a local, business, I have 5 stores in the LA area, for example.
Yeah.
Where should I invest my money?
Yeah. So I'm going to take this from 2 different angles. One is a little off from your direct question, then I'm going to come back and answer your question directly, if that's okay. First of all, I'd invest in the organization. We just did some research with Accenture that looked at, based on these disruptions, what does the new retail enterprise need to look like in the future? And the findings are fascinating in that, whereas in the past when retailers were product-centric, it was all about throughput, it was all about efficiency, it was all about quality, it was all about owning and operating everything yourself. In this new world that we've been describing over the last couple minutes, it's not going to work that way. Retailers need to be a lot more networked, they need to be a lot more open, they need to be a lot more collaborative, and that means in many cases outside of your 4 walls. In fact, somebody we interviewed as part of the process, Mark West, as the CEO of LLX GBS, they operate Jimmy Choo, Belstaff, and Bally's. He said, in the future, his organization is going to be a lot more distributed, a lot more networked. Not everything needs to be within his own 4 wall. One thing he does know is that they'll still own the customer. They'll own the customer experience. They'll be a steward on behalf of the customer. And so, there's a lot more detail in this research, but what it tells me is the DNA, the fabric of a retail organization is going to look a lot different. So if I'm a retailer, 5 stores, large, or whatever the case might be, I look at how you can take some of these characteristics that we learned through the research, whether it's agility, whether it's data intelligence, whether it's market insight, culture, and think about how you look and operate a lot differently. So that's my soapbox, and now I'll go back to your direct question in terms of what I would invest in. And I would look at it this way. I would acknowledge that the shopper in many cases is starting the shopping experience online, digitally, in most cases in mobile, and though they're consummating or finalizing that transaction in the store.
Right.
So what I would do is I would focus on artificial intelligence to know who that consumer is at each stage of the journey. Second, be able to collect data around the digital footprint that they are leaving across this journey. And then lastly, personalize that interaction in the context of where they are and what problem they're trying to solve. But it does, the wrapper, the theme there is artificial intelligence.
Okay. So that's where I actually would like to have another interview just specifically talking about Einstein and the artificial intelligence files. Because, this is like when you say use artificial intelligence to know the customer better. How?
Yeah, and that's fair, maybe it's a misnomer in that, right? Artificial intelligence is the technology and the practice to get there, but at the end of the day, to me, to what we see across our client base is, and what my advice would be to this 5-store chain looking to grow, is personalization. And so that's the business outcome of personalizing and providing a relevant experience. The way to get there is through.
But
so
that's
we
a
could talk
tool.
it.
That's
Yeah,
the tool
that's
they
the
need
tool.
to use. If
So
they
we can
don't
talk
use
about
it,
that.
then it's just going to make it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, why don't we
So
do that and highlight a couple of customers who are doing awesome jobs?
Yeah, we'll
around
do that later.
Okay,
So
yeah.
one last question. International reach.
Yes.
What is Salesforce Commerce Cloud's footprint right now as far as cross-border commerce,
Sure.
things like that?
Sure, yeah. When we started, again, in 2004, we targeted vertically integrated manufacturers, those that hadn't sold online before. And we've obviously grown since and sold successfully and supported successfully other types of retailers. But one of the business problems they were solving at the very beginning was going international digitally without having to put a whole footprint in the physical store. And so that's been a core competency of ours. Actually, our customers operate digitally in more than 50 countries around the world. We have headquarters around the world as well. But that's a huge value of the cloud, if you think about it. You're able to expand internationally without having to stand up hardware, software infrastructure, and all these local entities. And the way we are architected allows very effectively and efficiently to stand up stores in like weeks, not months, certainly not years.
Okay.
So the short answer is we have a nice international reach
Right.
organically as an organization, but our customers are operating on the Commerce Cloud platform around the world.
And does that include China?
That includes China as well. Yeah,
Okay.
it's typically a dual strategy for retailers that are looking to grow their footprint in China. What I mean by that is they're using the Tmall's of the world and WeChat's of the world, but also want a branded site. Not much different than early on here in the US in terms of trying to feel out different ways to reach the customer, but ultimately bring them to their own property.
Also looking at other marketplaces in the US
That's right,
as,
sure.
as an option. Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rob. I'm excited to see what Commerce Cloud is doing.
Thanks a lot for your time. Really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.